streaming in here, and we'll also be streaming on the Twitch.tv channel. Um, the If anyone has any questions, I will pop in with those. Okay, I'll be monitoring the Twitch chat. I'll be monitoring the voice chat that is right above in the text channel here. Otherwise, in just a few minutes, we can go ahead and switch to your presentation. Okay.
Cool. And so the way we kind of have it set up is Tim and I are on a call over on my other screen. We've got the presentation up there, and so we can share screen so you guys can see our faces while we're
Awesome.
presenting. Hopefully that'll be a better experience.
Fantastic.
Yeah, the live stream is now up on Twitch, so you guys can feel free to jump in there, jump in on Discord. And if you're over on Twitch right now, please feel free to jump in on Discord as well and join us here.
I'll post some reminders in the Twitch.tv.
Cool. I appreciate it.
A quick question, team. Is Plarium currently remote? Are you working from home in Kalamazoo, or?
Yeah. So I mean, we'll get into it in the presentation, but we we are working remote, and yeah, we'll dive in more. But in the kind of short of it, we're all remote, and we work a lot with people on the West Coast, so trying to organize that time zone difference.
So in a way, you're kind of already used to doing a ton of remote work, since you're kind of a smaller office of a huge company.
Yeah. Previously, we were working with a studio in Krasnodar, Russia, so we had a kind of a much bigger time zone, and a lot of other challenges that came along with the remote work. But again, we'll get into all this later. I don't want to jump the gun here.
All right, sounds good.
How are you guys doing? Good day so far?
Pretty good. Yeah, it's been a pretty good day on my end.
Cool.
We started up our final project in 2 of my classes now, and so I'm excited to see where that goes.
It's always fun.
Oh yeah, students are excited. Or at least I'm going to pretend they're excited.
Right.
Finals are always stressful, but they always turn out good.
Pressure makes diamonds. That's what I like to say.
Yes. Yes, indeed. How's your day been going?
It's good, we've kind of been in a little bit of crunch at the studio. A very before I
crunch
get into
is not the right word, because
crunch is very bad. I know there's a lot of bad connotations with the crunch. Plarium does an awesome job making sure we have like our work-life balance set up, and we plan. I mean, Tim will tell you all about it. We're very diligent in planning our sprints out so that we don't run into these situations where it's crunch. But I use the term in the sense that we have a release that we're cutting, so it's getting down to like the wire. We're making sure we got to squash all these bugs,
Yes.
and making sure we're putting our best foot forward.
Oh, of course.
And so that's always a little stressful. But with that said, I think it's good. So yeah.
That's good. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, right when you get down to that last little bit, it always feels like it takes the longest.
Yeah.
Totally.
I remember it on The Sims 4. We had a crunch of I think about 3 weeks, and that was considered super good. Everyone was super happy to crunch for that long.
Totally. I was gonna say that I'm looking at my options right now, and it says I can't stream to this channel. I don't know if I need some permissions
Yep, I
in order
gotcha.
to do so.
Just give me a second, I'll fix that for
Yeah,
you.
yeah, take your time.
Welcome to admin.
Phew,
Feel free to dethrone Austin now.
right.
I feel like we have something messed up with the rules. We should be able to give people stream permission without making them without giving them total power.
Oh yeah, it takes like half a second, but I just haven't done it yet. I'll put that on my to-do list for tonight.
I had a mistake in my company Discord server where I forgot to restrict the announcements channel, and so I had someone posting memes there. And so that was not good. It's not the best. Okay, we'll give it another minute and then we'll switch over to your stream. Okay.
Cool. How's it looking, by the way? It looks all right. Let's see if I can go full screen here.
Yeah, it's looking
Yeah, it
good.
looks great.
What is that background, Tim?
Zangief stage Street Fighter 2.
Ah, amazing.
Had to represent the Russian.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and stop presenting now. This has been Raid Shadow Legends.
You paid promoter or what?
All right, let's see here. Oops.
Right. We just about ready there, Austin, to kick off?
I think we're ready to go. Go for it, Corbin.
Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for coming back to another month of IGDA Ann Arbor. I really appreciate you guys all coming out. If you have not already, feel free to join us in the Discord server. We're hanging out in here today. We've also got the Twitch stream going on over at twitch.tv/IGDA_Ann Arbor. Very long tag there. But this week, we have both Adam and Tim from Polarium out talking about their success with Raid Shadow Legends, the history of Polarium in Michigan, kind of their careers in the industry, and other impactful like game development topics. And then later on this evening, we're going to have our community showcase, which, Austin, do we still have a few slots open on that? Or are we fully up?
I think we're now full, but I'll check for you, okay?
Awesome. Well, if we are full, feel free to sign up for a future month. That way you guys can make sure. Nathan, it looks like you have an announcement for later, so we should definitely talk about that. Let's not forget to mention that. We do have one more slot open, it looks like, for our community showcase. And if you haven't taken a look yet on the IGDA Ann Arbor meetup page, there's a really cool resource that I'll post in the Twitch chat. The Michigan Game Studios database that Austin and a few others have taken some time to put together and maintain. It is a super awesome resource that I would strongly recommend taking a look at if you're interested in some of the game studios happening here in Michigan. If you have not followed us on Twitter, take a look for IGDA2_official. Also follow us over on Facebook. Twitter, we post a lot of stuff, and we repost some really popular stuff going on in the local community. And on Facebook, we try to like give out information about these upcoming events and things like that. So, is there somebody talking over everything, Nathan? Is there like some weird audio going on? That'd be weird. Okay, well, other than that, I think we're ready to just jump right into it. Adam, are you ready?
Yeah. I think we're ready to jam. Ready as we'll ever be.
Sounds good.
Cool. Well, thanks, Corbin. Thanks, Austin. Nice to be here. Thanks for having us. I guess we'll just get into it. We're from Polarium, so we work at the Polarium Michigan office, which is located in Portage, Kalamazoo. We'll get into other stuff later, but for now, we'll just do some introductions. Like I said, I'm Adam Martinazzi. My gamer tag is AceJR. Let's see, there's the screen is updated appropriately. 31. Right now, I'm a game designer at Polarium, like I said. My favorite games are Breath of the Wild, play some Ori and the Blind Forest. Right now, I'm currently playing Rocket League. It's been a staple of mine for a while. I like that competitive shooter, so I'm going for Valorant. I play some Smash Ultimate, and I've been getting into Spellbreak lately. I don't know if anybody's gotten into that, but it's kind of this cool battle royale where you got two gauntlets and they control different elements. Feels really cool. Other than games, I've been trying to get back into my Russian. I learned Russian for about a year and a half when we were working with the studio in Krasnodar. So, я знаю немного по-русски. And then I got a puppy, a COVID puppy. So that's a big impact on your life. And then I'm into some board games. Not so much now since there's a lot of social distancing, but we still play on Tabletop Simulator every once in a while. So, and this is Tim. He'll He'll talk about himself.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah.
My name's Tim Williams. I go by Tiwi. I'm 37 and I'm the director of development at Polarium US. Favorite games is a bit of a Sophie's choice, as I'm sure most of you are familiar. But Secret of Mana, that's got to be top one for me. Counter-Strike 1.6 is my preference. Rocket League also, Dark Souls, and all of the Dark Souls-like games, and Uncharted. Other hobbies, I probably should have put my daughter, but I have a year-old daughter, so she's taken up a lot of time and a lot of cooking, musical, and music stuff. I play saxophone and I listen to a lot. And I'm getting into electrical engineering, but I'm quite a hobbyist, so I'm not very good at it, but it's fun to burn myself, I guess.
Yeah, I should have thrown in cooking too. I like to cook a lot. Um, yeah, cool. So my kind of path into gaming, I know this is always a curious question, is first, I grew up in California, so I'm from California. I went to school at UCSB. Went to school, got my BS in engineering, mechanical engineering, and then I got a master's in economics. Um, After school, I had an internship or two in mechanical engineering, didn't really like it too much, so I went after an opportunity at S2 Games and got a job as working in the community. At first, it was just this weird position they had for it was called Heroes of the Street team. They wanted to kind of create this street team that would, infiltrate different cities and kind of spread the word by grassroots marketing and all that jazz. But eventually, the community manager position opened up, and so I kind of moved to that. And then as time went on, started just taking on more and more responsibility in the marketing department and operations. So yeah, I was there at S2 Games. I don't know if you guys know, but S2 Games kind of broke up and got severed into a bunch of different studios. They sold off Heroes of Newark to Garena, and Garena made a studio here in the U.S. called Frostburn Studios. And so there I did marketing, operations, and publishing. And then after a while of that, I wanted to kind of like shift gears from the marketing side of things and the publishing side because they're very like late on the I'll get in, don't get that too deep, but shifted gears, applied to be a game designer at Polarium, got the job, and here I am right now, and I kind of focus on systems balance and kind of core gameplay and combat. So
All right. So I slightly different path from Adam. I grew up in Maryland. I dropped out of college after a year, just really not for me. Started in customer support, IT, QA. I had to play That's So Raven, Lilo and Stitch, and Outlaw Golf for a couple months, and those are really not my kind of game. And this was, I think, Game Boy Advance, so no emulators. You had to just fun times. Then I got a job at Boeing, and I kind of did everything in the software lifecycle process, from development, security, DevOps, development manager. I was a lead engineer for the business unit for, we had about 200 people, and I was responsible for all of the technical work that happened there. And I got that job primarily from networking and just kind of knowing people and getting an interview. And then I guess same thing for S2 Games. I just through networking and met my friend in Dark Reign 2 from way back in the day, and then he got me a job at S2 Games. I was the system architect for our game Strife, making sure that we had all of our server infrastructure in place, DevOps and such. Then I was responsible for the development management of it and releasing the product for the last year of the life cycle. Then I co-founded Player Michigan and have been the director of development, focusing on the games that we make there. The Player Michigan studio. So just a little bit about like how it started. Player Global has a whole bunch of people around the world. They had a lot of people and not enough project leadership. So they were looking for people who could lead a project and be a game director and kind of own that. So they found us, and we launched in 2013, and we made our first mobile action RPG Skybreaker. We have a trailer for it. So hopefully this plays well.
There's no sound, but it's still hype.
So hopefully that came through enough.
Came through enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the fate of Skybreaker, it just wasn't meant to be, unfortunately.
Yeah, like Tim was saying, we didn't okay. So we worked on the game for a while. There was a lot of hiccups in the process. One particular one that stands out to me was didn't we used to work with where was the studio located in Ukraine in Crimea?
Simferopol.
Oh yeah, say that again.
In Crimea.
Yeah.
Simferopol.
So when all of that kind of stuff was going on between the Ukraine and Russia, the studio kind of had to be relocated, and so there's a lot of like halts in the process. But cut and short of it is that the KPIs just weren't where they needed to be. For people who aren't familiar with the KPIs, just key performance indicators, which are just like, hey, we need to make sure we have a 3-day retention of 25%. These are off the cuff numbers right there, but just targets we were going for that would make the game viable at the market that we wanted to be viable at. And this is pretty important when you're working with like a big studio like Polarium, because when they do launch a game, they want to put millions of marketing dollars behind it. I mean, you guys seen Raid, and it's everywhere, and so they want to make sure that they're going to get the return of investment on that marketing spend. So they want to make sure that your retention is where it's at, their monetization is where it's at, and so on and so forth. Additionally, the process itself to make the game was kind of long because we had a lot of trouble or just I guess difficulties working with our partners in Russia. There's a few big flags, I guess, is that the time zone is an obvious one. They were 8 hours ahead of us, right? And so we have a lot of time to overlap and work together. So a lot of issues that come up that maybe you would walk over to someone's desk and say, hey, this is an issue. Can we fix it? It's blocking me. Well, those would have to wait till the next day. And so, you can just see how long that extrapolates, project out to. Tim, you want to go and do it?
Yeah, and really, we had to have kind of a waterfall agile combo just because they needed enough information to not be blocked. So we needed to do a full documentation, grooming process so everyone knew what was involved, and that just makes the timeline for implementation for features just too long. So looking at the current KPIs, there was potential there, and we could have done the iteration. It just was going to take too long, so we made the call to switch things up a little bit. So we merged with the other Polarium studio in the US, Rumble. So we became Polarium US. So this was May last year. We support KR, Kings Road, and Alliance, and we just did our technical launch for our first game as Polarium US. We're still a little hush-hush until we pull the trigger on marketing, but hopefully in a week or two we can start talking about it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so we combined studios with Rumble, who they're located in San Mateo, California, and working. This was also kind of right when COVID was hitting. A coworker at Rumble actually had COVID and she was sick, and so they actually went into the remote work a little earlier than like the entire nation did. So they were kind of used to it when we got brought on board, but still, it kind of just a change of pace of things. Lots of communication via Slack. We have a lot of Slack channels that are open that anybody can join. We have a design channel that everybody is welcome to get into, and an art channel that everyone's welcome into. So you can kind of like try to recreate that water cooler chat that you would maybe get in a work environment where it's a lot more natural to just see what's going on. Oh, I have a quick opinion about this. All right, I'm going to step out. when we're doing calls, we again try to encourage face-to-face connections. So try to have your videos on so you kind of get that experience. Um, the hours are a bit more fluid and flexible. I think a lot of people have found themselves enjoying working from home because, you find yourself, maybe you're up on your computer, you're not really feeling like playing a game. You kind of got your head in a mind space of work. So you do some work. And, maybe the next day you feel like sleeping in a little bit. And there's kind of like, we have our touch points at certain meetings within the day and making sure we're there. But the fact that the hours are a little bit more fluid, I think is making for, people a little happier. We also try to do a lot of social activities. So at least once or twice a month, we get on and plan something. Tim and I are both a part of the social kind of committee, and we've done a bunch of different things. Ranging from, let's see, we did a game jam where we took 2 days off of working on, I'm sure people are familiar with game jam, but like we took 2 days off working on, the priorities we had, and we just separated people into groups to work on stuff they wanted to work on for the game. And so we got all these ideas out for that.
Yeah. One more thing about
Yeah.
that. We kind of broke into, okay, we need an evergreen game mode. So who's interested in doing that? And then so we broke people that are interested in more like end game modes. And then all right, let's mess with a boss. And then okay, let's have people dig into that. So we got all the artists together to come up with a boss. So it was a little bit less of a go do whatever you want and more of a let's kind of focus these things. But yeah, everyone had a really good time.
Totally. It was a little more pointed to, make sure that we're at least getting something actionable out of it. We just recently did a Bob Ross painting thing where, the company delivered, painting supplies to everybody, and we just got on, watched the video together, and made some. Mine is particularly bad, but we made some paintings, made some art. Yeah, and I don't know, I did this thing. It was called Dragon Racing, which just like simulated like a horse racing. So I made this thing in Google Sheets where people created their horses, gave them some stats, and we just ran races on them. So we've tried to get creative with ways for our coworkers to build those relationships that you may not get when you're not face to face. Cool. So now we'll get into actual like some lessons learned throughout our kind of experience and time in the industry. First one is kind of like, why are we doing things? It's really important to like continually like ask yourself, why are we working on this? Why are we choosing this feature? Why are we implementing this ability like this? Like why are we doing this process? Like why am I always having to relay my information to Tim and then Tim has to relay it to someone else? Like where can we always improve these things so that your process is efficient? We can go a little deeper and be like, okay, why are we working on this feature? It's important to kind of like figure that out and get that set in stone. So later on, when you touch back and you're like, oh, this feature veered in this direction, and you look back and you see, oh, we started working on it because of this reason. Is it still actually achieving that? So it's kind of important to always touch base on like why things got started and make sure to check them on where they're going. Which can easily, I mean, I was going to say, it's in the gaming industry, you can easily get off the initial track. So, because people get excited about something, you're like, oh, I want to do this. It's such a cool project. Or I feel, I just got in the groove and I started going this. But like, staying on track's just of ultimate importance.
Yeah, I mean, just a simple example. Why did we make that button blue? Like, that doesn't make sense. And then, if okay, maybe you're not going to document why the button's blue, but if there are like core decisions that you're making, iterating on it is so much easier when you know why you made those decisions to begin with.
I mean, for a quick example on that I just off the cuff is like we have in our game, we have heroes and they have mana, and then we have explanations on how their mana is generated. And the mana in the game has a mana bar that's blue, but the tooltip has a background that's like this weird orangey color. And we got feedback from someone who was playing the game of saying, well, I don't understand what this related to. And so you can see it's like, well, why did we make that orange in the first place? Like, is there any reason? Could we like have a more, cohesive design? Like, why not make the background to this thing blue so that you can possibly get that connection? Obviously not everyone needs that connection, but the more people you kind of solve for, the more, the less errors you're going to have in your game, the less kind of like roadblocks you're going to have for players who are playing it. So
next is one of my favorite pictures on the internet. I'm a process guy, but requirements are hard. And this just kind of explains, the customer says that they want a tree swing and they describe it in one way. Then the project leader understands it in a different way. The analyst designed it in a different way. Then the programmer wrote it. And it's just, the business consultant describes it as it's just, it goes crazy. And like, requirements are so easy to get wrong. And we have kind of an example from the game next that we can go through, but it's just kind of, if you have the goals of the system or why things were made, when you're writing requirements, you can reflect on the goals and make sure that you're not making a tree swing that is a noose or whatever.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, example on that is like, requirements are hard, but when you're kind of setting requirements, it's important to get all of the pertinent parties together when you're talking about stuff. So we've had a few examples of this. Our company, one that I'm thinking of right now is like, context is key. Like, if you just tell an engineer, hey, design I have a specific example here, but it's not as flashy as it's like, okay, cool. So a designer writes a task for like a damage calculation mod because they need it for an ability that they're making. But when they write the task, there's no context to the ability. They just say, hey, make it so I can calculate this. And when the engineer actually finally gets the task, they realize, oh, it's not possible because the way we have our damage process, that the damage you're trying to modify happens, like you're trying to modify it before the event actually fires, so it doesn't work. And so the initial request isn't actually possible. And we run into these things where now the engineer has to go back to the designer and be like, well, I can't do this. And he's like, well, I think we can. And if the engineer knew the picture at the start of the task and was brought in and was being like, hey, I want to make this ability work for this hero, how do we do that? Then the engineer could have had all these suggestions on, be like, oh, I can make it work like this, or I can make it like, because they're intimate with the code, they know how it works. You as a designer, you're intimate with the hero, you know how they work. So get together, describe what you want, and let the engineer fill in the blanks of the technicality of the task. So it's kind of like a focus on what you're trying to achieve and why, rather than jumping like straight into the solutions, rather than the designer writing the technical task for the engineer. Have the engineer come up with that and have the designer write the designing like desires, like, hey, I want this ability to work like this, you make that function how you can. And there's a lot of these small communications that like can very easily get lost in translation. And so yeah, it's just something that like comes up time and time again, that communication is key, context is key, just making sure everybody that is a part of it knows what's going on. Talking about communication is you can't over communicate. You know what I mean? Like you can have too many people in every meeting, and then nobody's actually getting working on their actual tasks. You can under communicate, and it's hard, but it's a continually iterative process of finding that balance between over communication, under communication. I mean, we can even talk to the fact that in the age of COVID, when a lot of things are remote, finding that balance is even harder, but it's even more imperative because if someone is left out of a meeting that could have good insight, or is like a stakeholder in whatever's going on there, then you may have to redo that entire meeting just because they were gone. So it's something that is, again, it's ongoing, it's important for the project. We've done a lot of refining of like, how do we how many meetings do we have a week for people? We as a company ourselves have like adjusted this, I don't know, 4 times since I've been there, of different processes and how we kind of go about who's in what meetings. But and I was going to say, it also, like, again, it evolves over time as well. As your team gets bigger, maybe your meeting clusters get more specific, or maybe you kind of rely on like you know different managers being in the meetings and then disseminating the information to the people in their department. So, I mean, it's not like a one solve fixes everything kind of solution, but I just at the end of it, it's more important to over communicate, like, and be like, I know that this kind of goes a little counter to what we were saying, but Tim brought in this point where it's like, if something's really important, then make sure it's known. When we have builds that are being built, maybe it's not super imperative for everyone to know the build's being built, but we have our manager that does the builds. He pings every Slack channel and says, "Hey, this build's going out. This build's going out. Final cutoff for this build is at 6 o'clock." So it's not actually taking more people's time, but when it's important, he's throwing it out there enough time so that no one has an excuse to be like, "Oh, I would have pushed my change 10 minutes earlier if I knew." Like, you can solve problems like that. So
People still have that excuse though, so
they definitely do.
it's you do what you can.
All right. So another lesson learned is kind of user testing. I'm sure there's a lot of designers out there. No two players are the same. As you're making a game, you're making it with all the experiences that you have from not only your life, but the amount of times you played this game. You're approaching the game from a unique perspective, and players that play your game will play it differently than you, and they will play it differently than everyone else, because they have those unique experiences. And so it's something to note, uh, so it's important to test early and test often with a lot of players. So something we've been doing is we pay users to test our game throughout our entire process, go through our new player experience, and we watch them when we see where they have difficulties, how they solve levels. I I'll tell you right now, at the very beginning of this, I was making levels really freaking hard because I knew the solution to them. I knew how to do it, and I was like, well, this is like, it's I'm riding the line, but this is good. It's gonna be fun when people get it. But for a lot of people, it was just too much. They were getting overwhelmed. So I've had to tone down my design a lot. And the second point there is like try to find the balance between your intentions as a designer and the actual experiences that the players have. So just take that into consideration when you're making the new levels of the game. Make them maybe 3 times easier than you would want them to be. And as you're kind of going through the game, yeah, maybe you can start turning up the difficulty because players are learning and advancing. But like, make sure you're keeping track of your players' experiences and factor them into your design. And lastly, user testing also is a great way of filling in the cracks. When I play this game day in and day out, my eyes glaze over so much of the screen. Like, I don't look at anything other than what I'm trying to do because like I have tasks I'm trying to get this level designed. I don't care about the text that's popping up. Like, I'm skipping over the tutorial because I don't want to see it because I'm trying to test this over and over again. And so new players coming in, it's a great way to expose all those cracks and bugs and pain points in your game that may have been invisible to you because your eyes have glazed over all those small details. So it's just it's a lot of those invaluable feedback and experience and set of eyes and new just exposure to things that you wouldn't have gotten if you didn't do it. So just a vital thing.
And I guess just one data point: when Adam says test early, test often, we did the tech launch last week, and again, we haven't really told anyone about it, so some people might stumble upon it, but we'll tell people about it soon. But we've been working on it for about 10 months, and 8 months ago we started user testing, and we've been doing at least 3 user tests every single week. We'd get a cluster of people that would focus on the tutorial, fix the tutorial, and then for 3 months all they were doing was iterating, and then sending it out, getting feedback, and then wait, they can't click that button. Okay, let's fix that, and it's just iterate, as much as you can. So we tested as early as possible and as often as possible, and it's a lot of work, but our tutorial's in a really good place because of that.
Totally.
We think. And
we think, yeah, right.
And the people that we pay think too.
Cool. Another lesson is kind of like utilizing feedback, and I mean, this is I don't know if that's the most eloquent way of saying it, but we'll go into the points here. Feedback comes in many forms. You get feedback from players who are angry on forums. You get feedback from user testers who are playing your game for the first time. You get feedback internally from people, and the context around that feedback matters a lot than just the straight feedback. Who's giving it? Where's it coming from? What's their status with the game? How experienced are they? Like, if someone just said level 5 is too hard, well, who's saying this? Like, that could be interpreted in so many different ways. If it was a new player saying level 5 is too hard, well, then, maybe we'd take that. If we're saying the elder game player is saying level 5 is too hard, well, then level 5 is way too hard if this elder game player can't beat it, Um, Feedback, it's a symptom, it's not a diagnosis. So, like, again, if a player says level 5 is too hard, that doesn't mean that level 5 necessarily is not balanced correctly. Maybe that player doesn't have a good understanding of how to use abilities, and they're not doing something that we wanted them to do in that level. Maybe we didn't teach it properly. Maybe they didn't understand how to counter an enemy because, again, it wasn't clear to them. It's your job to, like, get these symptoms and try and diagnose this problem, and then fix that underlying problem so the symptom is then resolved. So, a lot of people have gut reaction to be like, oh, it's too hard, it feels bad. And it's like, well, what feels bad to you? You're like really got to like dive into these symptoms to get the real diagnosis. And then continuing on that, we get a lot of feedback, tons of feedback, and Tim will go into it in a sec. But like, feedback's only good when it gets to the right person. So a lot of feedback, a big important part is like filtering and disseminating the feedback. So if I'm watching a user test and the user talks something about the art that I think is like a good piece of feedback, well, it's only going to be useful feedback if I then can like take ownership of that feedback and deliver it to the right person because I think is good enough. So um it's one of those things that's important to, like, all right, getting feedback is awesome, but there's a lot of cost that comes with filtering and disseminating that feedback to who it's important for and what department's important for.
And just like zooming out a little bit, if you look at like the different stages of where ideas come from, or like a feature request, there's the design team, and their job is to be like identifying what the game's missing. Is there enough content? Looking at analytics, is there a feature that's underutilized? Like we've designed this quest system and no one's using it. Why? Is there enough tension in the economy? Did we flood too much gold? And so gold is a resource people don't care about, and so that's not a good resource that we can. It's not a good carrot on the stick, basically. Is it balanced well? Are people using the items in here the way that we want it to be used? Then there's the feedback, and as Adam was saying, the feedback comes from all different places. It's players, user testing, it's customer support, it's community management, it's internal employees, it's executive. It comes from all over the place, and all of that stuff has to get funneled into a backlog that is maintainable. If it's a million items, there's no way you're gonna be able to understand what's in there or make sense of it. So you have to clean it up. You have to kind of get it in a digestible state so you can make the right decisions. Then that has to go into, if you're talking about spending a lot of money, you need some kind of roadmap of this is what we're doing over the next couple months, the next couple years, and you need a plan for that. You need all of this information.
Yeah, kind of going along with what Tim said is like you gotta balance that too. So, yeah, with TV, yeah. You gotta balance that too. So we have our roadmap internally, and then it's important for us to factor in feedback or factor in time and work cycles to take into consideration that feedback and have space for people to work on it. Because if we just went with our 2-year roadmap and didn't take anything into consideration and we just put it at the end of that, well, then no one's going to feel happy. If we just did their stuff and we never did our roadmap, then the game's probably going to turn out like shit, in all honesty. So you got to kind of factor in this into your work schedule and your workflow and your planning of being like, hey, we have this space to make some adjustments based on how things are going.
Right.
Yeah, I was gonna go to the next one. Yeah, we kind of just jammed a little. Right now we're talking about a lot of different topics that we just thought were important. I don't know if anybody has any questions or thoughts. We can dive in deeper on anything. we just this was like a catch-all. Here's some monetization stuff. So data is king. We have this one is specifically like retention, monetization, and we talk about these KPIs. Well, a big factor for a lot of mobile games is like, how do you tell if they're for mobile games it's like a very simple equation. It's like the CPI, which is the cost per install, which is what marketing pays or what's the cost of marketing to have one person install your game. What go for it?
Yeah, so we work with all these different companies and we pay them for user that they bring to us. That's the CPI. So in this channel, it costs about $1 for every person that we attract, and across all of our users, average $1.25. This is made up numbers,
Yep.
but if the red number is smaller than the green number, you can pour millions and millions of dollars in it and make money. So that's how Raid is.
Yeah, it's a simple equation. Exactly. It's
so, and then the things are okay. So how do you get CPI low? It's the game has to be attractive. It has to be something that people want to download. The advertisement has to be good. Then in terms of average revenue per user, that's where the retention and monetization, they have to be interested enough in the game to stick around for long enough and be interested enough, and the monetization has to be good enough and not feel like a ripoff, or so all of those, there's a lot of information that goes into this, but that's kind of like the simple equation.
But yeah, it boils down to, if this is green number bigger than red number, like you said, then let's just keep putting money into marketing because it is working. So
yeah, this has been sponsored by Raid Shadow.
Yeah, all right.
And just kind of one look at just one part of the game. So this is what we look at when we're looking at a specific part of the game. So loading. So the player opens the app, then there are about 30 things that happen before they can play. And it all happens in 20 seconds. And you can see that there are people dropping off. And so it's, okay, where are they dropping off? How can we stop that? Because if you're going from 100% to 66%, but you're paying $1 per user, you're throwing money out the door. So you have to have this amount of detail for everything. You have to look at the tutorial with this. You have to look at combat like this. You have to look at, so we have 30 different dashboards that have 50 different charts each one, and we're looking at this so meticulously to make sure that if we're going to spend millions of dollars on marketing, we can back it up and we're not wasting money. So data, it has to be right. It has to be, that's the most important thing that we're working on.
Totally.
It's not really, it's one of the important.
There's just, the fact is, it's just like, it's all an interlocking puzzle, and having, Tim can talk about our IAP, yeah, we can make the coolest game in the world. That's just awesome. And if people can't spend any money on the game, if we don't have in-app purchases and we don't have something that is sustaining the game, then all the work we did that's aside from this is lost, vice versa. We can have awesome in-app purchasing, but if the game's not cool, everything, who cares? So there's just a lot of very critical pieces to the development process that all need to have their time in the spotlight, be taken care of, and work well in order to make a successful game. And it's kind of about massaging all those, juggling all these balls and making sure they stay in the air, because once one drops, the performance is over. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Team, we have a couple questions on the topic of feedback and on the topic of metrics. Can we take a couple questions?
Yeah, that was our main shtick. So we got a few extra slides if you need us to talk about more, but yeah, questions are preferred.
So one of the first ones that we have is from Josh Marshall on the topic of feedback. Have you ever been overwhelmed with a large volume of feedback? And how do you process it? How do you prioritize it? How do you manage it and kind of mine it?
Well, yes, the answer is definitely yes. And it's, I think, different at different stages of the game. But really, you need a clear plan at how to deal with it. So if, for example, we want people to watch user tests, then if it's some type of UX feedback or a confusion. So like people aren't getting that this is a button, or they're using this hero in the way that it shouldn't be used. The design feedback has to get to the designers. The UX feedback has to get to the UX, as Adam was saying earlier. And that needs to be a very clear system with like clear accountability. So to be honest, we're polishing that process up right now. So it's not very clean right now, and we're working on it. But really, it comes down to making sure that people get the information they need without being overwhelmed, and that is a challenge. And
Yeah, so I was talking to Tiwi earlier today, and we were talking about feedback in particular, and we were talking about how you can't just hire someone who has no experience on a project and expect them to be able to sift through feedback and make knowledgeable, like critical decisions on what feedback is good feedback and what feedback is bad feedback. Like, you know, so it's really imperative, like the designers and some of the I guess a lot of the designers on our game right now, we watch the user test and we make the decisions on it. We can say, if someone says, oh man, I don't like this ability, like I may be in the know of saying, oh, we're reworking that hero, so it's not a big deal, like, and then I can already filter that feedback out. Or it's like, oh, the art on this person is great, it's fantastic. It's like, I mean, that's not feedback that's going to be actionable. It's just cool feedback. But like the point is, it's important for the person to use their own discretion as they're being that initial filter for the feedback. And then beyond that, it's like you take the feedback, you have the person filter it, and then you make it into tasks and you throw it in the backlog and you prioritize it and you say this is minor, this is major, this is a priority, and then you filter it like that. And so it's just making sure you can find a way to filter it and throw it into your already churning machine.
Yeah, and I play the role of the product owner in agile terms, and one of the most useful things is deleting feedback. There's feedback that is coming back, and this doesn't need to be in our backlog. We're not going to worry about this for 9 months, but this is going to come back. So those type of things you can get out of your plate. So that backlog that you're prioritizing and using to plan out your sprints, that needs to be real, and you need to know enough about the type of feedback that's coming in so that you're prioritizing the right things. So it's yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We have another question. This is one that is kind of related to financials and metrics. You don't have to answer it, and if you do, you can just use ballpark if you want to. But Andrew Yang asked, he's curious, his studio is a mobile game studio as well in downtown Ann Arbor. You said that on average, the user of a game like Raid and Plarium's other games will overcome the cost to get that first initial install. The question is, how long does that tend to take? And do you much care if the user pays back and gets to that average in the first few months or the first few years?
Well, in general, you assume that the majority of people playing the game, 95% of the people, aren't playing a dime. So you're looking for the whales and the minnows. So the whales are the people that are spending a lot of money, and the minnows are the people that are spending, like, I don't know, $20, $50, something like that. So it's about making sure that the average cost over all of your players are above that threshold.
Yeah.
So
something
you're not expecting people to pay.
Yeah, something I want to elaborate on is that, like, we used ARPU in that because it's pretty clear, like, all right, average revenue per user, it's pretty easy to understand. Another value that people use a lot of time is just lifetime value of customer, and that integrates, it's like saying, hey, over the course of this person being in the game, what is the average of all the players over their lifetime, what will they spend? Because ARPU is usually kind of like done on like a per month or per week or per day basis. And so, you're looking at, and the lifetime value of a player also kind of includes, hey, is this player going to refer a friend? Like, if I get this guy downloaded in here, or this girl, or if I get whoever download, are they going to then download, daisy chain another player? And so you kind of try to take all of that into consideration. So you're not necessarily just looking at people, hey, I'm paying $5 to have an install, and if they don't spend $5, then I haven't made my money. Well, did they get another person to install? Because if so, then there we go. You know, they're pretty much a free install, and that's why you see a lot of referral programs too, is because that's like, you know, very important to games.
Awesome. Thank you. So I have a question that is related specifically to the Kalamazoo office. So the Kalamazoo office is kind of a satellite office of a much larger company, and it's really really awesome to have you out there. My question is like, oh my gosh, I'd really love to see you go for. Well, how big is it currently? Is it about 10 people, 15, 20?
Well, in the Michigan,
Yeah.
in Michigan, the state, maybe 6 people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Most of us, excuse me, are in California. We have a
Mhm.
couple people scattered. I think we have someone in Washington, someone in Colorado. So
Got you.
um,
Okay.
You want to
COVID
share
has
this?
made this a little bit easier.
You want to share those pictures, Tim, that you got, or that one slide? We
Yeah,
prepared one
sure.
slide just in case. Yeah.
So we have a really nice office that we're not using because we're all working from home. So if someone has a sad trombone, feel free to play that. Wah, 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 wah.
Classic.
Um, so yeah, it's a nice large studio that is empty, and it's a little bit sad. This was my baby, so
Yeah.
it's sad to see the
Oh.
baby unused. I don't know.
What arcade machine is that back there? It's really important.
It's it's an emulator. It's got a bunch. It's got like almost every like NES,
Wow. All
SNES.
right.
You
Awesome.
know, I think it goes up to like maybe PS2 and Xbox, and I don't know.
Yeah.
It's got a lot, but we usually played. What do we play? We played a lot of Puyo Pop. I don't know, or Puyo Puyo. I don't know if you guys jam on that, but and then what else did we play? We
Awesome.
played a few other things.
We had a lot of Smash, so we had a lot of lunch tournaments going on.
Not on that machine, but yeah.
Gotcha. So the second part of the question is, what agency does Plarium USA have to, grow, to create new job opportunities, to offer internships to local universities? Do you have a lot of agency in that regard? Do you have to go through headquarters to get that kind of permission?
Yeah, I mean, we effectively run our own studio. There is a budget that we have to get approved by the financial team, but there's a lot of agency there. Really, the main thing is a lot of the game studios nowadays, unfortunately, have the let's just hire a whole bunch of people, and when the project's done, we're going to fire all of them, and we hate that, so we're not doing that. We're basically not going to consider hiring someone unless if it's a permanent hire. So we lean into a lot of outsourcing for art. So we work with some outsourcing art studios and really try to, skirt that issue in a way where that we're good to people and not,
Yeah.
Interesting. Does that change at all with the internships, which are kind of there's an expectation that they will only be there for 4 or 5 months?
Yeah, I mean, we do have some contract positions every now and then, but those are rare and upfront. So if people are in that situation, they'll know about it. This is also, if there's a good reason to do it, I think we can just pull the trigger and make it happen. The real challenge is you can't just start an internship project. It needs someone to facilitate, and
Yeah.
if that's me, I'm either leading the project or I'm leading the intern team, and I'm going to lead the project, and that's where I need to spend my time. So there are definitely a whole lot of options that we could pursue. It just has to make sense for what we need.
One of the reasons I bring it up is through Ann Arbor Spark and the MEDC, we have a really cool new program that essentially allows you to get any intern from any university in the state, and it's half paid by the state itself, which is kind of neat. I'll talk about that a bit later. But it looks like we have another question here. Let me take a look at that real quick. Sir Snipe asks, have you tried to work with local educational institutions like Western Michigan University or KVCC or any other state schools in the past?
We did a couple testing programs where one of our producer, technical writer, he went to the different universities. I forget which one specifically, but we came out with the several devices in our build and did some like brief user testing. We paid everyone with gift cards for something. I forget what it was. So in like a user testing type of like one-off capacity we have, but in I think in S2 games we did something with a more maybe like a 3-month time frame for a QA team. We were working on a MOBA and we needed 10 people to be playing the game all the time, so we just got a whole bunch of interns to play the game, and so
yeah, just going off. I mean, when Tim and I were also learning Russian, and deep in that, we did some talks at like the Russian club at WMU, which isn't necessarily related to the gaming, but I think the big factor, and like you talk about, like, internships and whatnot, is like it's a big. I mean, to have a valuable internship where you're just not like, hey, do this grunt work. It's like a lot of time sink from the employee or the company that you are, interning for. So even if it's unpaid, even if like the financials aren't, it's like it still means that I take at least, if everybody takes 10% of time out of their day to work on this, well, then we're actually spending that amount of money on this intern. Which, again, not against it, but like that's the factor. We have a studio of 6 people, and so if we are trying to put in the appropriate time and effort it takes to, have fulfill, a really good internship where the person feels like they learned a lot at the end and it wasn't just like another cog in the machine, well, that's something that could happen, but maybe not like while we're in like active development of hey, we're trying to get this game out and launched. I know that down the line, if like this is successful, and we're trying to maybe expand our like design teams and expand our art team, then there'll definitely be some opportunities. But at the moment, it's like it's really all hands on deck. Like,
Yeah.
so
yeah, I think really, and just one editorial comment: we're not a team. We're a team of 6 in Michigan, but the team is 35 right now in the U.S. But if the game takes off and it's the same level of success that Raid has, which is obviously what we would like, all of those answers are going to change because we're going to need more characters fast. We're going to need more levels fast, and then that just changes a whole lot of the equation. When you're in the like grinding, like you really have to expedite, or you have to use your time well, and especially if you're going to avoid some type of crunch, you really have to min-max your how effective you are. So
Yeah, it makes sense. Totally. One of the things that we see across many studios around here is that we just don't, internships just aren't long enough to really get people to the level of productivity to pay for that. So that's tough. Okay, I think we have another question, a technical question. You mentioned contracting with art studios. Preference for hand-keyed animations or mocap from Xsense, etc.?
I mean, in general, we don't outsource our animations. We use a shared rig. So if you make an animation of someone shooting a bow and the rig is the same, you can reuse that across multiple characters. So we really try to like min-max how we're doing that. So when we're outsourcing art, primarily we're talking about modeling, texturing, and like concept polish. So we get a sketch, we send it over. Okay, make this pretty. Then make the model, make the texture. Then we have a team of 3-4 3D artists that focus on the rigging, animation, and VFX. So we don't do mocap for our game. Raid Shadow Legends, they have a full mocap studio. They have, our team of 400 people, and it's one of the most absurd buildings you would ever see. It's so cool. They have a movie theater in house. They have a gym with it's awesome. So they do mocap for especially for their commercials.
Yeah. So Tim, was talking about we're going to talk about the character cadence in our game, and like how you have to start to have a character put out. You can't just design a character and say, hey, they're in the game. It's the art pipeline takes 2 to 3 months. So you have to have everything kind of figured out at the beginning, then wait 2 to 3 months, and then do it. And if we're trying to get 100 characters at launch, look at that timeline. That's 25 months. That's too long. How do we improve that? Well, I just found out the other day that Raid had over like 215 characters done in the last like year and a half. So it's just like Raid's machine that they've created and can output, quality characters that like look cool and feel. Just some of the best quality, in my opinion, on mobile that there is right now. Like it's impressive, and they're just a different kind of beast at the moment.
And we're targeting raid or better. So
Yeah, we're targeting that quality, and like, yeah.
we're starting the cadences, getting things up and running. I think we do 4 characters a month. They do 10, so we have some upgrades to do.
Oh, that's still awesome. So I think we're just about done. I think we have time for probably one more question. Chat, do we have any more questions?
I've got
We
my
have,
eyes on the Twitch stream, and I haven't seen any pop up.
Yeah, we've got one. So let's combine into one final question. Have you been to the does Plarium bring everyone to the headquarters, which I think is in Israel? Have you had any cool trips out there to meet like the executive suite?
Yeah.
And how much time, Yusuke asks, how much time and money do you think it would take to create Raid again?
Uh, are we assuming starting from nothing, or like take everything from Raid, copy and paste, but you're writing all the code?
I think it would be more interesting to say like let's start with the knowledge that Plarium has gained institutionally from their experience with Raid and these other games.
That's a very hard question. I think if we were to, for example, take the Kharkiv studio, which is the studio who made Raid, and we were to take that 700-800 person company and then shift all of them over to this thing, it would be really quick. I don't know, maybe 6 months, 6 to 9 months to a year. The characters might drag a little bit because that's going to be the long pole in the tent, unless if you lower quality heroes or something. About Israel, visiting Israel. Yes, I've been there several times. We did we had a yearly executive sync up where we would, travel to Israel, talk about the project, make sure they're okay with giving us money for building the project, and we'd stay there for 4 or 5 days. It's in Tel Aviv. It's a wonderful place. I think one year they took us all out to do driving in sand dunes, like jumping over the sand dunes in Israel. It was really cool. We did a trip to Jerusalem another year.
I haven't gone. I want to. It sounds cool.
I've
been to Krasnodar twice though, so that was cool.
Really, one of the worst things about going to Israel is from Michigan, you kind of have to go from Kalamazoo. You have to go from Kalamazoo to Detroit to New York to somewhere in Europe to Israel, which is a day and a half. So it's the worst travel arrangements possible. So I didn't really like to go as much as possible. And unfortunately, we weren't very smart about how we scheduled our travel. We basically said we need to be there for 3 days, so we were there for 3 days. We had a couple of trips where we planned fun stuff, but that's more on me than anything. I wanted to be home. so
Awesome.
Did I cover your question? I think there were a couple parts of that question. Did I get them?
I think you did.
I think we got them all. All right. Thank you so much. Corbin, go for it.
All right. Well, thank you, Adam. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Tim, so much for coming out and chatting with us today. We're going to take a 10-minute break before we jump into our Q&A session. So if you're on the live stream, we're going to take about 10 minutes. The screen's going to go dark, and the Discord chat's going to go away, and you'll have some lo-fi music to chill for about 10 minutes. And then when we come back, we'll be picking right up with our community showcase. And again, I just wanted to say thanks, Adam. Thanks, Tim. I really appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
All right. I will be right back.
make my music, you know
Hey,
what I'm saying?
can you guys hear me?
I want people to feel what I feel. I want them to feel that energy that whatever it was, yeah.
Hide that. I don't know if the Discord can hear me. Huh. I think I'm having some issues on that Discord end. Let me disconnect. Hello, can you hear me? Possibly. I know you guys can hear me in stream, because I'm watching that. Can they hear me in the Discord? Looks like we're having some issues. Snipe hit me up. Negative. Gotcha. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. We're getting weird. Locked and loaded Discord issues. Establishing a connection. Well, let's close Discord and reopen Discord. That's the easy answer. When things don't work, turn them off and back on again. Discord, right, Discord, into the Discord.
Hello. Can you hear
Hey,
us?
can you hear me?
Yes, we can. All right, you
Awesome,
ready to
awesome. Yeah, I'm ready to go.
go? Okay. First up, we have Logan Hughes, representing Wolverine Soft Studio. He has a couple of videos to show us, and we're going to take 5 minutes. I believe Logan might want to talk over some of these videos, so I'll keep it kind of medium loudness. Are you ready, Logan?
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah, so I'm Logan Hughes. Oh, I guess we'll let the video play first. I'll kind of talk over it. This is our most recent update for the game that the studio is making this semester. It's still in a very early developmental, well, it looks like it's in an early developmental stage, but we're pretty far down our timeline. And, but we're getting the core game mechanics together. I'm working for the audio team right now. So I may not have like all the knowledge as to how all these things work. I'm not really doing any programming, but I have a very good all-around understanding of how the game is supposed to work and what we're shooting for. So our levels are procedurally generated. This update specifically showcases how we've been getting our art assets in, and these sort of industrial metal structures are going to be dispersed throughout our level. So it's great that we were able to get those in to our procedurally generated levels, and helps us give a clearer picture as to where we're going. So
Next is the art update, correct?
I thought
Is that the
I
one
think
we just
that's
did?
the one we just did. Yeah. The one that says, not the one that doesn't say art update. They're both 3.21. Yeah, we had 2 updates because the art stuff was still on a branch. But yeah, recently we've had to make a lot of scope cuts because our timeline is coming to an end in a little under a month, or about a month. So initially we were thinking our game would have 3 dungeons and the player would have like a skill tree to choose abilities from and grow over time, but we quickly realized about 2 or 3 weeks ago that was way too ambitious, so we've been cutting back a lot. I guess I haven't gone over too much like the core ideas of where our theming and world builds come from, so I'll talk a little bit about that. We are mostly inspired by like sort of steampunky slash Greek mythology aesthetics tier, kind of combining the two. And we're going for an FPS, but as you can probably see, there isn't a lot of first-person shooting stuff happening because we've been having a really hard time getting enemies into our game. So we initially thought we were going to have 3 dungeons all connected together by this central hub that is sort of just like a place for the player to relax and buy consumables and spend some time purchasing skill tree upgrades. That has changed due to scope cuts. We are moving down to 1 procedurally generated dungeon, 1 large dungeon, and we're just refining our core game loop, trying to make sure the enemies get in by this week. This is our safe hub here. Like I said, where the player can go to the shop, which is where we're looking at, and purchase consumables like health potions and explosives. So, not sure how much more of this video is left, but
You've got 30 seconds.
30 seconds, yeah, that's quite a bit of information. I guess we have a lot of like player mechanics that we're trying to tie together. And obviously this is just a video, but if you all have like general impressions or thoughts about what you're seeing, what you're hearing, even though I talked over a lot of it, please let me know.
Okay.
I'd like to hear some of it.
That's
and Thank you
time.
very much.
Thank you. You now have 5 minutes, chat, to ask any questions that you want. 5 minutes, go. So we have one question from Bastian Oxer. I hear the jumping sound is varied. Is that 3 recordings or some random dynamic audio?
That is actually just the first jump sound we could find. It's just a temp sound. It's probably being modulated in pitch, but there really isn't much special about it. We're going to add more and develop the jump sound more, since it's probably something the player will be doing a lot.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Nathan asks, Twitch, are you applying any real-time effects to the audio, such as pitch, shifting, convolution, reverb?
Yeah, we do have some general reverb on a bus that everything is going through.
Is this using Wise or Fmod?
We're using Fmod. Usually we've used Wise, but we're trying to get experience in those platforms. So, you know, it's all about learning. So yeah, we have like a general reverb, and some of the sounds need to be iterated and improved upon. A lot of this is pretty bare bones still because of the state of art in our game right now. It's hard to create sounds for something you can't see. So we're going to start refining and making these sounds more detailed and interesting and more fun in the future.
Awesome.
In the coming
Josh
weeks.
Marshall. Josh asks, do you see this shifting into more of a platformer now that you're beginning to make scope cuts?
It could very well shift into a platformer. I don't have all the answers to that question, probably because I'm not leading the design, but I think a lot of it depends on these next 2 weeks of our development, depending on how well enemy integration goes. If enemy integration goes like poorly, we probably will move more towards maybe platformer, or we may simplify our levels drastically by making one level that doesn't procedurally generate. We would just generate one level, basically make it, keep it the same, and then
Okay.
refine it from there. So
I have a question. What is the plan? Do you know what the plan is for the hub now that there's only one big dungeon?
well, the hub. The only thing kind of keeping the hub in the game is the shop right now. So we're gonna keep the shop, but yeah, the hub is pretty much gonna stay the way it is, other than like visual things. I don't think it's going to be moved at this point, especially since we're keeping the shop.
Okay. Bastion Oxer asks, would the music change based on action and or level design? Do you have any plans to do that?
Yes, we have some sort of ambience in right now in this clip that we're viewing, but also we want to. We do have music that I'm going to integrate in soon, and hopefully we can have it respond to the amount of enemies that are around you at a current point in time. And we will also, there's a final dungeon objective in each, well, in our level, and that would have different music as like sort of like a final battle music. But yes, it would adjust to player actions, mostly regarding combat.
I have a question, and we have about 50 seconds. So really quickly, has your audio team had to kind of learn how to do a lot of coding to interface with Fmod, to add events, stuff like that?
Yeah, we've had to get a lot more hands-on in the code. With Wise, we could just be sort of hands-off and throw Unity events in. But yeah, we've had to learn a little bit more about integration and writing in lines of code to trigger sounds and parameters. So it's been a fun journey.
James, Josh, and Bastion all say this is really, really great. And I concur. This is really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's
Sir
looking
Snipe
really good.
asks. Oh, we got 5 seconds. Sir Snipe, is there any plan to do bobbing on the staff? And does the audio change when you're in a tunnel? Final question.
Ooh. Audio does not change in the tunnel right now. That's obviously a goal I would like to have, but who knows if we can get it. And there will be a staff bobbing animation. That's actually what's holding up footsteps right now.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Logan.
Thank you. Thank you for all the questions.
Super good.
That was intense.
Rapid fire questions, huh?
Yeah.
So next
right.
up, we have Josh Marshall. Does Josh have the streaming permission, Corbin?
He should. Josh, you should be all
right.
set to go.
Fantastic. Okay.
All right, let me give that a try.
Awesome. Yeah, during our break, I decided that I should probably take a moment and create a new streaming permissions thing, so it's not just the admin.
Yeah. Someone will
All
present
right,
just to
it's
take
not
over
letting
the
me
server.
That would be a funny day. All right.
Okay.
It is
are you
streaming
guys
just
seeing?
fine. Yep, we're seeing Discord for you.
All right, sweet.
There's a game in the Share My Work channel.
Yep.
So let's go ahead and give that a download, everyone.
Yep.
I
It's
will
a
be there in
multiplayer game.
spirit.
What's the player cap for this multiplayer game?
So it's 4 per room, but if we get more than 4, they'll just go into another room.
Okay.
So as many people that want to join can join,
Okay.
but I'll only be able to show a game with 4 people.
Okay, are you ready, Josh? 5 minutes. 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, so my name is Josh Marshall. I am the founder of Dreamwoven Games, a pretty new startup, and this is one of my first commercial game attempts. If you can go ahead and into the Share My Work channel and just download that game if you want to give it a try. I guess I'll jump into this and kind of explain what this is. This is really in the prototype phase right now, but like they mentioned, like everybody always mentions, get feedback early and often. So what I've got is a really basic game that is it's built using Photon and Ultimate Character Controller in Unity. So this is my first multiplayer game attempt. And I guess while I'm waiting on people to get in, the inspiration for this came from a few different games that I really, really enjoyed in the past, but I haven't really seen a lot of these games more recently. So the first one, if anybody's familiar with like Tony Hawk Pro Skater, there was a mode called Graffiti where you do a trick on a section of the stage, and then you basically capture that area. And in order for somebody else to capture it, they have to do a harder trick or a trick that gives more points. And as long as you hold that area, you score points. And so the goal is to, capture as many of these areas as you can by doing the best tricks on them. And then whoever has the most points at the end wins. So that's kind of like the genre that I'm going for.
Josh, I think oh, we have 5 people in the same room. That's awesome.
5. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Who's playing
Yeah,
as
so
me?
so I just jumped in. So yeah, we've got a few people. This is a prototype, so you guys have already found out that you can push people
Get him.
with left mouse click. So right now, I guess I'll explain this while I get pushed around. So the purpose of this game is that you're all characters, and you're gonna go around this area, this level, and there's gonna be a spotlight that appears somewhere. And if you dance in that spotlight for long enough, you capture that area. And then as long as you hold that area, you will score points. And Corb is really pushing me around now. As long as you hold that area, you'll score points. But you can be interrupted from dancing by being pushed out of it, or you can be hit with a projectile, and maybe some other fun mechanics that will come up down the line. So what this is right now is just a really basic prototype. All the game logic is all the game logic's not built in. So all you have to do to capture and to score right now is just walk through the little cylinder, which is representation of the spotlight. So that's what I've got right now. Some of the next features, I guess, to add is right now you can't walk off the side, you can't be pushed off the side. So that's just because I don't have respawning, like death and respawning implemented yet. So those are going to be next up. And then obviously we have to get dancing into the game and the scoring mechanic. And the actual score right now is a little bit broken. Those are kind of the next steps. My ask for this, I guess it's a few different asks. One thing is, I don't really know a lot of games that are kind of like this. There's also a mode in Thunder Tanks that is similar. But if you guys know any other games where you're kind of like capturing territory or any game modes and you're trying to hold on to it, and other people can contest them, I definitely want to hear about them for like inspiration purposes. And then like any general feedback on the idea itself. And I'm also going to be looking for artists, modelers, animators, and musicians for sure. And very soon. So as soon as I get this first prototype out, I'm going to be like hawking down people about this. How much time do we have left?
You have 12 seconds.
All right, that's cool for me. I guess we can jump straight into Q&A then.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions? And my first question is, Corbin, what do you have against Josh?
You know, I
Around
just
like
felt like being there in spirit meant I had to bully him.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay. So Josh V says it reminds me of that one Mario Party game, mini game. I think there are a lot of mini games in Mario Party where you're trying to push people off of something.
Yeah.
It never fails to entertain. It reminds okay, hold on. This is really fun and there's a lot of potential. Can't wait to see how it pans out. Star Wars Battlefront.
Star Wars
Okay, so my question is, my real question is, you said you wanted 3D modelers, and this was going to be a game about dancing and pushing. So what kind of theme are you thinking about for this game? Are you going to theme this game around like a party, or like even like yeah?
Yeah,
Go
that's a
for
good
it.
question. I didn't mention that. So I guess I'll just talk about what I have right now. I'm still kind of on the fence about reskinning it. But the idea behind this is that this is like a apocalyptic. This is like this is like an apocalyptic setting where basically the world is ending and people just
Okay, hey, someone help me trap him. Someone help me trap him. Come over here. And Enderfus.
yeah
Okay, can you get out? Can you?
the
Oh
world is ending
no!
and
Let him
it's
go.
like the only thing that people really want to do at this point is just kind of have fun and party. So it's as far as like theme and art style, I was thinking something kind of like Jet Set Radio, where people are very flashy and kind of colorful, but also apocalyptic. So not dark apocalyptic, but like playful apocalyptic. Like it's clear the world is ending, but it's really fun and colorful type of thing.
That's awesome. Do you plan to have concept art done for it?
I would love concept art because that saves money.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
my first thought whenever I hear somebody talk about hiring 3D artists is the mistakes that we made without having concept art, and so I was curious about that.
Yeah, I definitely need to start with that. I'm glad you mentioned it because it's always like an afterthought for me.
Same, it was for me too. Yeah, I like the prototype a lot. It's coming together really well. I think I'm an excellent player in the game, obviously.
Excellent bully.
Yes, of course.
You guys are probably
So
seeing
there's a
some
question
strange
from
action
Logan
now.
Hughes. What are you feeling? We talked about the theme. What are you feeling as far as aesthetics go? What are you feeling as far as the music?
So music, I envision this having like a very, like basically the stage has a very generic, rhythmic audio track that's, kind of dance music type. But when an individual player is dancing, maybe that gets replaced by their own personalized song. That they're doing it is like another kind of notification that somebody's dancing, trying to capture someplace. Um, so yeah, I'm thinking like electronic dance and hip hop and pop type of stuff primarily. And so there's just gonna kind of be like this persistent rhythmic audio in the background.
Okay. Do you plan to make your own music, like get your own music made, or do you plan to buy one of the music packs?
I definitely want to get my own music made. Probably not too many. I don't want to be too ambitious on this first commercial attempt, so I want to keep my budget low. Um, but I do want like at least like two songs that can be looped,
Very cool.
made for the game.
Well, as Snipe said, I am fiscally responsible, so I'm happy to connect you with some people.
Nice. Definitely looking forward to that.
Okay, 50 seconds. Final questions, everyone? Did we answer James' question? How big do the maps being? How big do you think these maps are going to be?
So reasonably small, basically about the size that they were in the prototype. So just a small like party game. They might have some height variation. They might have some like gaps and stuff, but for the most part, that size. I don't want too much camera scrolling taking place. I want you to be able to see basically everybody. And do you think ways to make traveling around maps quicker? Yeah, so one of the things is power-ups. Didn't mention those, but definitely one of the power-ups is going to be a speed boost. I don't, so I guess it'll be like a temporary sprint ability type of thing. And there's going to be other power-ups like projectiles you can throw at people and other fun things. But so I want it to be kind of like a jog. I know it's like a walk right now. I want it to be kind of like a jog by default, and then if you get a power up, you can sprint.
Awesome. Cool. Okay, that's time. Thank you so much, Josh. Looks awesome. It's really, really fun already.
And thank you for answering the questions and looking at the project.
Okay. All right. So next up, Kyle Sutherland, Sir Snipe, are you here? Are you ready to go? Do you have the broadcasting permission?
I think I am ready to go. Yes. I don't have a camera, and I'm not sure how this is going to go down. Let's do this.
All right. Let's find out.
The
Go ahead
best
and start sharing your screen. Share your screen, and then we'll go. Okay. Ready? 3, 2, 1. 5 minutes. Go.
Let me. Yes, and I'm going to mute Twitch. Okay, muted. All right. So I'm Prairieville Games. My name's Kyle Sutherland. I am a studio that's specializes in creating engaging digital media productions, including storytelling, animation, and other specialized ways of telling stories from concept to distribution. I started out wanting to try to create media from the natural inspiration, and I thought I could strike out basically on my own and do it all myself. And I was going to do that. I was going to capture real world situations and pixelate them. I was going to do the arduous process of drawing every pixel. I then later learned that I could also do 3D arts of the same versions, and it became depressingly a long process. And it was obvious very quickly it was too much work to do all on my own. So I brought in some outside art assets. I was able to pick up some really great looking dinosaurs. And then I decided that I was going to work more on the technical aspect and pull it in and put together stories. And I felt like that wasn't as big of a deal. I originally thought that was, everything had to be done yourself. And then I later discovered that it was better to help remix and take something that exists and sort of, push it a bit further and extend, I guess, the functionalities. And it's sort of like recycling. So I did some work with King and Captain with some boats. I created some of those art assets, but then also I got to work with other technical collaborators. And I also then was trying to work on my own art. And so I found that pixel art took a very long time to create these stories. So I guess I got a little ahead of myself. I still tried to do pixel art. And, they came out pretty good, but it took a long time because there were thousands of little pixels to work with. And even when I tried to curb working with shaders, it still didn't look quite right. So that brings me to better endeavors, which was working with an outside studio. Our friend and colleague here, Austin, and I started on a project called Greek Tragedy. And I guess what I wanted to showcase for tonight was more of the results on that, but I wanted to give an introduction to who I am and what I'm doing here, I guess. We've just pushed and have gotten to the point to where we have 2 new scenes in our game that is not in the demo. So this will hopefully come out with the rest of the product. We have our player come in and break through the locks on the very safe and secure library in order to get to sneak past some guards. I actually have the game open next to me here that I'll switch to in a second. Oh no. All right, so as you move through, you encounter these cultists who are on patrol because they're trying to perform a Delta Psi function this evening, and it's imperative that everything runs smoothly for their plans. And of course, our hero is trying to upset their evening plans, I guess is the best way to put it. So let's hop to it. Then sorry. So we have our main antagonist finally in the game, and we're very excited about it. A lot of his logic is not completed
60
yet.
seconds.
However, he is he can move, and he is armed, and he's willing to give his wrath on our people. I'd like to briefly show then my we have our library scene, which I'm going to try to sprint to now, which is the other building. I guess I had to jump to. That you end up finding yourself in a horrid labyrinth of books that seem to which go on forever. And I hope that players won't find it too difficult. I was listening to the lecture tonight about making it hard and then scaling back, and I think that's what I've done here so far. I had it very difficult to begin with, and now it's pretty much a straight line with easy to see ends, but it's easy to get turned around. Is kind of what I was playing on. So
Awesome. All right, that is 5 minutes. Q&A. Do we have any questions? So the first question from Bastian Oxer. What inspired the PS1 style graphics?
I think we wanted to play heavily on nostalgia. We wanted to lean into, especially we have this tank control functionality, and really play into that 25 to 30-year-old, nostalgia throwback that, oh, this is like playing PlayStation 1 for our target audience.
That's awesome. I had a question for you about the puzzle to get out of the jail cell. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay, cool. I can never tell if I actually unmuted myself or not. No, for the puzzle to get out of the jail cell, I was curious. It looks like they're all three the same speed and relatively the same size for the landing zones. Is there any plans for that to change to create like a slightly more difficult challenge, or is it more just a time delay goal with the puzzle? Or like the mini game, I should say.
Currently, the puzzle is actually just set for easy to debug and move through. But yeah, I'm setting them to a random pull to have it scale depending on. I think we were discussing on how many times they've gone through. Like if they died, they had to come back. Maybe we'll slow it down if they died most recently, but then time it back in. We have been working with various puzzles like that, or at least I have been recently to try to. Basically puzzlefy a lot of these areas. Obviously, it's important to wash your hands. Oh, the yarn file didn't load. Oh, sadness. I was very excited to show you this very important aspect of the game.
We have a question from Josh. What are the finishing touches that will make this game done?
I think, and Austin, you're also welcome to interject as you wish, as you are a co-owner of this game. We definitely have a goal to get all of the content and all of the puzzles in, and then we hope to continue to, at least for many of the areas, make sure that they can perform well on smaller handheld devices like the Switch, and then as well as making sure it's extra juicy. I think there are some plans to add in an additional character, especially for this particular building that we're still waiting back on our artist availability to get that through. And really, most of the puzzles are actually now fully in. So we're going to try to make our AI just a little more robust. Right now, in that GIF that I showed here, here, these, that yellow is the cone of vision. If you end up in that color, it switches to red and it seeks you out. It comes up and gives a pretty great attack, but it's relatively stupid, so you can sidestep it. I think that's going to be great for our new players, especially with the tank controls. They're going to be able to get around. But currently, our boss is using something similar. So I'd like to make that a lot more, give us some more oomph, I guess.
To jump in real quick, if you play the demo, which we posted in the voice chat, we're fairly happy with the quality of that demo, the amount of detail in the areas, the kind of difficulty of solving those puzzles. So the game will be done when we can have that same level of quality across hopefully about 40 to 60 minutes of gameplay across these two additional areas that you've seen. So there's a lot more to do and a lot more playtesting we'll have to do before the game releases, but hopefully within the next couple months. A question: how hard was it to replicate the aliasing? Many graphics cards have anti-aliasing built in. Did that cause any issues? I'll answer that. It was extremely easy to get our current kind of PS1 graphical effect because we just found a GitHub repo that was higher quality than the experimental stuff that we had been doing ourselves. So it was extremely easy. We downloaded the GitHub repository and used the logic that was in it. I think it's in the credits. If you download the demo and then you open up the credits menu, I think you'll see a link to the GitHub repo if you're interested in getting a similar quality.
Some additional
Okay.
content that we're hoping to add is are some pages to help fill in more of the exposition.
Okay.
I see.
Awesome. All right, that's it. That's 5 minutes. Thank you so much. Okay. All right, so I think I have the ability to stream. Yeah. So let's go ahead and do it. I have 2 things that I want to show you, and I've got 5 minutes to do it. Corbin, do you have the watch? I can also do it for myself, but
Yes, I can queue something up right now.
yes. Then if I time myself, you don't know if I'm cheating.
Exactly.
Okay. So hopefully you can see this. This is actually the itch.io page. If you download the demo, please let us know what you think of it. Okay. We really like feedback. Okay. You ready to go?
I am all set for you right about now.
Okay, so I've got 2 things. I probably won't need the entire 5 minutes, but who knows? I've got 2 things to show you. The first one is a really interesting program. It's called the Michigan STEM Forward program, and this is a new kind of program that the Michigan Economic Development Corporation is launching, and it is entirely modeled on the XR internship program that Ann Arbor Spark and I have been running for a while. So the local startups around here that have gotten their interns half paid for, that program is going to be going statewide now. So it's not only limited to companies and students in Ann Arbor. Now, a Michigan tech startup, a startup in Houghton, Michigan, way up in the UP, making games, could hire and have half of an intern paid for in Lansing or in Kalamazoo or in Big Rapids. And so what we hope, we also have a lot more money to do a lot more of these internships than Spark could handle. Spark was only able to fund about 2 or 3, I think. No, like 4 or 5 every semester. And so hopefully we'll be getting into like the hundreds if we can across the entire state. Yeah, at any rate, it's a program that might not be very exciting right now, but one that hopefully over the next couple of years will cause an explosion in internships across this state. And so hopefully we can get more interns. We can keep more fantastic talent around here and help more of our local teams win in the marketplace and grow. Create a lot of opportunity around here. So I'm super excited about that, even though it sounds really boring, doesn't it? I apologize for that. But the idea is that this program will add a lot of new startups to this list right here. This is the MichiganGameStudios.com database. It is actively updated by Michael Clamoris and I. And it is a big database of all of the active game studios that we know about. You can see multiple screenshots of products from each studio. You can see their logos. You can go to their Twitter pages. You can find their Discord links. Some of them even have Patreon sites linked in here. So I encourage you to go there, MichiganGameStudios.com. Can you post that in the chat, Corbin, or someone? And if you know of a studio that's doing cool stuff but isn't on here, then please tell them to go to the bottom and click this little request to change button right there at the bottom. That will notify us. It'll tell you exactly what info we need from you, and it will notify us that you have provided it so we can quickly launch a new version of the database. I have it almost all automated. I just need to throw your stuff in and click the button to get a new version. But otherwise, there are more features that are planned for this database. For it to be a really useful database to researchers, we really want you to be able to kind of sort in different ways. So alphabetically, sort by ad time, launch date, stuff like that. And we want you to be able to kind of filter by tags. So maybe you come to the site and you want to know which studios focus mainly on mobile, or which studios are mainly XR studios, which studios are traditional game studios, which studios have put out games on a Switch, which ones have been published. Those features could really help you find the studios that you should be talking to, regardless of what question you have, whether you're looking for an internship, whether you are looking to get feedback on a publisher, like should I go with this publisher? You used them, right? Can you give me any tips? One of the coolest things about our current modern day when it comes to game dev is that our competition is global, but our talent base for the most part is kind of local.
60 seconds.
Right? Which means that we can all be the best of friends, right? If you were a logging company owner in like 1700s Michigan, then you were not very happy if you had another logging company right next door to you, right? That was competition. They were going to eat right out of your revenue. But these days, right, we can all get together and we can help each other out and help a lot of talent develop and come into this area, and we can compete as a big regional team against studios in Japan, against studios on the West and East coasts. I'm super excited to see this scene grow. And with my last 15 seconds, I don't know. I'm just if you're at the bottom, if you find your studio at the bottom here, it's probably because you didn't provide any screenshots to me. And so please go provide a screenshot, provide a new icon and logo. And I appreciate you doing that. Thank you. Any questions?
So I've got a question for you with your next 5
Yeah, go for it.
minutes. This is about the Michigan STEM Forward information session and just information overall. I'm sure I'll learn more at the information session on, April 8th? But I was curious about what the overall cost is to the developers.
Yeah, so I think it depends on what the local minimum wage laws are. So in Ann Arbor, the minimum wage is $15 per hour. And so Ann Arbor Spark will fund, as kind of a default, I think you can go a little bit above this, but Ann Arbor Spark will fund $7.50 per hour for your intern, for each intern that you have. And they'll say that we'll do this for this amount of time, which is going to amount to, I think, 8 months. So it's actually, the internships are going to be longer than 4 months. So you'll have enough time to get them to productivity, and then they'll stay around for an amount of time that will make them a big win for your team to take on that intern. Yeah, so I think that's it. Yeah, I think it's going to be. We'll explain a little bit more about how this works. My understanding is that there will be a website. Companies will go and create their own profile. Students will do the same thing. And then there will be matching sessions where you try and find students that would be a good fit for you, where the students are trying to find you, and the instructors like me at these various institutions are helping with that match so you can get the right talent.
Now, the question that I would have on that is, if you find talent outside of that space, are you then still allowed to use the same platform, or do you have to go through the matching process?
If you find talent outside of that space, what do you mean?
So, like, if I find talent at a local university, like I come over to U of M for the semester showcase, and I meet with a student, and I'm like, oh, wow, I'd love to have you work on our team as an intern.
Yeah. What'll happen is that you will tell them to create a profile. You will tell them to apply through your profile on this website. And then Ann Arbor Spark would say, hey, we do have a slot open for you. Let's get this done. We'll pay for half your internship.
Awesome.
I think that's how it's going to work.
That sounds great.
Yeah. Does anyone have any questions about Michigan STEM Forward, or about MichiganGameStudios.com, or about Greek Tragedy? We've got about 3 more minutes, I think. Maybe I should make everything way more confusing and ambiguous so I get more questions. Or maybe they just need to be more interesting. How soon will the internship program go statewide? It's supposed to launch officially in early April, so like a couple weeks. How many game studios are there now? There's 75. I counted like yesterday, because that was a big milestone. You can now say there's 75. As soon as we get to 100, that's going to be huge, because I can say the triple digits. Triple digits. Heck yeah. It's really useful because you can use it to lobby. You can you can go to people with resources in the government, in your administrations, and say, hey, look at this. This is a real thing. There are a lot of growing XR studios that are providing a lot of jobs around here. So it's good stuff. Is it a full 8-month commitment? I don't think it's a commitment. I think most employers are going to want the student, the intern, to be able to say, like, yes, I can do this for 8 months straight. For many students that are doing it now, it's like 4 months of summer and then 4 months during a semester. So they'll take an easier semester so that they can continue to do their part-time job.
Very cool. We got about 60 seconds left.
Any questions? Share my work got an update. Click. Something that's super helpful. If you are in charge of a website, if you have some people who would benefit from a resource like MichiganGameStudios.com, share it, and if you post it online, what happens is it helps out our search results, which means that more people who are looking for other fellow game studios in Michigan will find this cool website instead of one that kind of stinks, like the generic jobs.com and those websites. So we're now number 1 for the Michigan Game Studios and Michigan Game Design, I think, companies query in Google. So we're getting a nice flow of traffic. Hopefully you'll see a little bit of that if you post your studio here. Does the student have to be currently enrolled? I think the answer is yes.
That is time.
Cool. Thank you, everyone.
Awesome. So I believe you are our last presenter for tonight, correct?
That's right.
Awesome. So thank you to all of our presenters tonight. We do have a few small community announcements, I believe. First and foremost was the Michigan STEM Forward Information Sessions happening Thursday, April 8th, from 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. If you're interested in registering, I posted that link in the Twitch stream, and I'm sure we'll share it in the Discord as time goes on. Other than that, we had a statement from Nathan from Stardock, and I believe they talked about they have quite a few new positions open. I took a quick stop by the Stardock career page, and it looks like Stardock needs a gameplay audio software engineer and a console engineer. And some other positions too, yes. When I was taking a look on your guys' career page, it looked like you had quite a few of those. But it sounds like they're aggressively hunting down that gameplay audio software engineer and a console engineer. So if you feel like you fit any of those roles, head on over to the Stardock career page or reach out to Nathan or Renee, who I believe is also pretty active in the Discord. And then, Austin, did we have any other major announcements? Oh, the student showcase is next month on the 21st,
yes.
Correct?
I think I was actually supposed to talk about that. Hold on. Okay, I'll share my screen real quick. The EMU plus U of M student showcase is going to be on April 21st of next month. I'm also working on potentially maybe getting an LTU team or two. It's
Fantastic.
a little bit late for that, but that'd be really cool. So yeah, join us. It's going to be a really good time. Like 20 plus new game productions from several universities, and yeah, and many of those students looking to work in games.
Yeah, this will be the most teams we've ever had from EMU this semester, it looks like. So I'm super excited about that. And I know you mentioned the LTU teams. I foresee a future where 494 Showcase that we do here on Twitch has all Michigan game teams. That'd be awesome to get like a large presentation there.
Yeah, I think we need a bigger building. We've blown up
yeah.
power the last 2 times we've tried.
Well, it's no fun if nothing goes out. But yeah, no, if you guys haven't taken a look over at that Stardock page, they've got some awesome looking careers. And then if you are a game studio head and you're looking to fill your ranks, and you want us to talk about some of your career options, let us know before these events. I'm happy to do so. Yeah, other than that, I think that's it for this month. I really look forward to seeing everybody again next month, and thank you to everybody who joined us here in the Discord, and everybody who joined us on Twitch tonight. And again, thank you to our wonderful presenters and our Polarium team. It was such an awesome experience.
Yep. Take care, everyone. It was good seeing you.
Bye,
See
everybody.
you next time.